Between Long Beach, Olton Park, and now the Nürburgring, the difficulty level this season has been pretty steep. But through it all, Simone has gotten the snowball rolling, and it's starting to edge towards an avalanche. 3 wins on the trot means someone needs to interrupt his momentum before he runs away. Will Frecia manage to break his win streak? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 6 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Peter Mackay. Behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. The Nordschleife has earned its reputation as the most challenging racetrack in the world. It's difficult to encapsulate this monstrosity in just words, so let's take a look at it with our track guide. Well, I said that this track is hard to encapsulate in words, but Peter, unfortunately, you're the one that gets the task to try and do that and how the 79 is going to behave today.
Well, I shall try and do it justice and keep it short. I mean, Sir Jackie Stewart, a man that conquered this place, he said he was struggled terribly with dyslexia. Couldn't spell the alphabet, but he says, I could tell you every gear change point around the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and that takes an incredible amount of bandwidth to master. Here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, again, Sir Jackie Stewart, he christened it the Green Hell, and it is certainly well named there. A super challenging circuit, and really a circuit that's got a lot of undulation and a lot of really bumpy parts. So the ground effect aerodynamics on this Lotus 79 really will be getting disturbed at certain parts in the lap. You've got to watch out for the curbs as well. Some of them can be pretty evil around here at the Nürburgring. This car never raced in period at the Nürburgring. The last round of the Formula 1 World Championship that was held here was in 1976, when, of course, Niki Lauda had his terrible accident and subsequent fire. So this is more of a kind of fantasy combination, but what a combination to have, this ground effect Formula 1 car and this amazing racing circuit.
It was already getting so dangerous in 76, I cannot fathom what it would have been like with the 79s out there. But let's take a quick look at our championship situation right now. Simone, 34 points ahead of Gernot Frecia, but Gernot keeps improving time and time again. And it looks like he may have finally got a handle on things for the first time in a couple seasons. Severi Seppa is in third, with Granberg slipping down to fourth. His early good start to the season is starting to fall by the wayside, and Steve Bycroft only a single point behind him, but Bycroft tends to fare well here. He could work his way forward. What about the team's championship currently, Peter?
Let's have a look and see how they sit at the moment. It's Scuderia Ferrari leading by just 7 points from Equipe Renault and John Player Special Team Lotus. In third is Marlborough Team McLaren, fourth the Shadow Racing Team, and fifth Williams Grand Prix Engineering. I think that might be the highest that any Shadow Racing Team car has been in standings in history.
Yeah, and as you can see, our race details for today going to be a short one in terms of lap, but still similar length at 8 laps, and they will have some penalties if they overdo it. But let's go to the grid as Tomas Simon is on the pole with Severi Seppa in second. Then it is Steve Bycroft starting P3, followed by Erwin Rockgrens in fourth. Pauli Partanen starts P5, followed by Jukka Tolinen in sixth, and Nikola Kochi in seventh. Emil Bornstorff is P8. Gernot Friesche far down for him, ninth place, followed by Michael de Turk, rounding out your top 10.
Starting on the sixth row of the grid will be Alessandro Parigi, one of our Lotus 49 drivers, alongside Timothy Reed. Row 7 sees John Stevens and Dennis Schanig. Row 8, Chris Baumann and Bill Tyler. And row 9 will be Andreas Henkel and Pablo Suarez. In 19th is Ivica Laginja, and Nick Bell starts from 20th.
Barry West in 21st is followed by Armando Edwards in 22nd. Then you've got Paul Schallner in 23rd with Robert Simpkins in the 24th spot. Sebastian Shu starts P25, followed by Daniel Banker to his outside. Ivan Dojo, and then there's the rest of the field. You can see as we already have the lights up and the green flag is out. Tomas Simon gets a decent start as they head down to the Nord curve, and then almost 3 wide behind him already. We got a car spinning off, a few having to take evasive action, only one getting into the wall. I think John Stevens clipping it, everybody else managing to avert disaster. Now, that could have been so much worse, but clearly we need a few more cooler heads here at the start.
Definitely, it's a long old race. As you mentioned, Joe, the distance and the time not really any different than what the drivers are used to, but any length of time around the Nordschleife is always exaggerated. There is no time for rest at all. It's just a constant assault on your abilities and your senses as we go over the Flugplatz here. Oh, crest of the hill, completely flat out in these Lotus 79 machines, and some of our fastest qualifiers doing the Nordschleife in less than 6 minutes. That gives you an impression just how fast these machines are.
Up at the front, it is still Tomas Simon leading the way with Severi Seppa behind him in second as they go through the Swedish Cross and into Ehrenberg for the first time. One of the few heavy braking zones that you have, possibly a passing spot, but so far not really seeing too many trying to stick their nose in. Looks like survival is on the mind of many of them.
Absolutely, this is a part of the race where the drivers just need to settle in and just take the time, because there's just so many opportunities to chuck it down the road here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, and there is just no runoff. It's almost like a street circuit. There's just zero runoff. If you're onto the grass, you're in the wall, and your day is done. Riding on board on top of the engine cover of Steve Bycroft's car. Good start from Steve. So we head starting to crest down the hill now. This turns into a real kind of roller coaster effect. Really, really tough part of the circuit here. You've got this good quick left and then 3, so almost like a triple apex right coming up here. And in these Lotus 79s, this is just how brave do you want to be? My goodness me. Oh, they're pushing.
Yeah, nicknamed Miss Hit Miss for what you want to do with the 3 apexes around there. Bycroft is running well, I must say, as he continues to trail behind Seppa, keeping the pressure on him, though he's not close enough to try and attack as they hit the bottom of the valley and heading back up towards Ex-Mula. Then they've got a huge steep climb pretty soon. You mentioned Lauda's accident. The Lauda kink up here as they are going to swing through that as well, then leads to the braking zone into the mine works. Let's see what happens on the way up the hill. Who's going to get a good exit? And let's not forget, there's a big hole that's going to be punched in the air. I wonder if we'll see any slipstream passes.
I think that in theory we should do. It's such a long drag up the hill, and this is where the setup here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, I mean, you've got so many challenges with this circuit in setup, with how bumpy it is and how undulating it is, but also in the amount of wing you run on the car as well, because there's a lot of corners where you really want as much downforce as you possibly can. So many full commitment corners, and you really need the change of direction as well. However, you have two very long straights, which we're just coming to the end of now, approaching the famous carousel. The other is at the end of the lap on the Döttinger hole, which is the very, very long, what seemingly endless straight, and that's where that compromise comes in, because there you really need a bit of a dragster. You need a low trim car, and that is just striking that balance takes a long time. I'm sure that we've got a big wreck in front of us. Goodness me! Oh, it's a pile up at the carousel. One of the Villiger-Heel cigar cars hitting big problems there, and it's real bottleneck again. Of course, the carousel and this car, not two very happy bedfellows, and more contact. Goodness.
I think this may have started with Rotkrins, the number 7. Looks like he lost it on the way in. I'm not sure if we have time to try and get a replay, but there was just so many. It trickled its way down the field as everybody tried to catch themselves. Looks like we might not have that one. So as we continue on, already at least Dennis Shaning has taken to the pit lane with a tow. Everybody else trying to keep going. Rotkrins looks like he might have to give up the ghost because that car is very much limping along. Looks like we found the replay. Let's try and see how all this started. From what I could tell, yeah, he slips out of the banking right here into the carousel, and then from there, chaos ensued, as they say.
Oh, just carries a little bit too much speed in the cars, just like, oh, off the end of a cliff, okay. And that just checked him up, and then there was such a big following party which had nowhere to go, and it's that level of trust that you need in the cars around you here at the Nordschleife. It's such a tricky, tough challenge. But back at the front, Steve Bycroft has got away well. Thomas Simon almost breaking the draft. Severi Seppa in second just ahead. There's about a 1.6 second gap between the pair. Now we're going to see on the Döttinger hole how much the draft effect there is or not. So Bycroft in third, Seppa second, and Thomas Simon ahead as they head down the final straight. This is just seemingly endless, and you'll see here they'll be absolutely at the very top of Top Gear. Of course, these Grand Prix machines have got completely adjustable ratio gearboxes, so how do you set up the gearing as well? You know, we're approaching 280 kilometers an hour, very, very fast through here, and it's all about how much do you want to dial out of the car to give you the benefit here. But of course, there is compromises. Really, really tricky to get the setup right.
Ooh, and Seppa sends it a little hot into Hohenron. Keeps it together. Meanwhile, behind him, Steve Bycroft was not interested in passing. He stayed behind Severi. And we ride on board once again to start lap 2. So your order is Simon, Seppa, Bycroft, Tolmanen, and de Turk for your top 5. Frische, by the way, coming forward, started in 9th. He's up to 6th after the first lap.
Oh, brilliant start there from Gernot Frische. It's been a good season so far from our multiple champion, running the number 1 plate today, so the highest rated iRating driver in the field. If you're new or iRacing, first of all, welcome to the Global SimRacing Channel. We're hoping you're enjoying this classic Grand Prix race here at the Nürburgring Nordschleife. But yes, basically, if you like, it's kind of like a golf handicap. If you have good races, your iRating goes up. And if you have bad races, your iRating goes down. And it also is dependent on the skill of the drivers in your race as well. So the higher the average skill, the more iRating you're likely to gain if you have a good result. So Gernot Frische, the highest rated driver in the field. But we're right on board with Steve Bycroft, our number 2 seed, sitting in 3rd right now. And yeah, I think you're right, Joe. I think he's just more than happy to sit behind Severi Seppa. Obviously feels like he doesn't have much more pace, certainly not enough to break away from Severi, so better to just sit here and just bide the time. It seems to me that Thomas Simon, he's gone, he's checking out.
We saw on the screen before Flugplatz, that was Bill Tyler in the background overtaking Parton. Oh, we've got another wreck. John Stevens involved in this one. And I see also Hankel in the 16 getting into it. And this appears to be contact between the pair of them down into Ehrenberg. I'm going to take another look at this one. I said it's a potential place to pass. Apparently for Andreas, not a good enough of one.
Let's see what happens then. It's very, very busy here coming. Oh, there's a super fast part of the circuit. Absolutely flat out left-hander in top gear here, and you can easily run out of road. A little bit of a twitch there. Gets into a wobble, can't slow the car down, and bang. Oh dear, dear, dear. That was Andreas Henkel. Honestly, I don't even know if you could call that a mistake, Joe. Just the tiniest little step over the edge. And typical Nordschleife, the consequences are catastrophic.
Yeah, it's just one of the cases where this track does not forgive. As we once again watch from Bycroft looking ahead at Seppa. They continue to lose ground on Simone, so I'd say they're well out of the draft. It's 2.5 seconds up to our leader currently. And right now we're watching Reed trying to see if he can get by Frisha, who currently rides behind De Turk. They start to head up the hill through Kesselchen. Well, they will after Bergwerks here. Easy to get lost on this track.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I know the circuit very, very well in terms of what it looks like, but I'm terrible at remembering the corner names. Normally that's something I quite enjoy, but there's it's so hard. And the German pronunciation. Where's Stefan Schlacker when we need him? He's very good for pronunciation guide of Nürburgring corners. You see Gernot Fritzsche really pushing his way through the pack here, and oh, good, that's feisty for Gernot. My goodness me, he is in a really sprightly mood today, and up to 5th position. The only thing is, he might well have the pace to catch up with Tollenin, but what's exceptional, what's absolutely astounding to me, Joe, is that how much the leading trio of Simone, Seppa and Bycroft, how much time they've put into the 4th place and down pack so early on in the race.
Yeah, and what surprises me, if anything, is the qualifying is different. It's not done in this session like we normally do. So he did his qualifying before. So I would think that Frisha would be a little bit higher up than 9th, but I guess this week has been solely focused on the race itself. Considering how hard it is to pass, I'm not totally sure about that sort of approach. Clearly, it's serving him decently well as he's up to 5th now, right behind. We're still on board with Reed. Maybe it's just De Turk who is plugging everybody up, and I think I see a little bit of damage on the front wing of De Turk from my angles. We can't see it from on board here, but if we hop off, the 13, I think, is sporting. Yeah, there it is right there.
Yeah, front wing damage there. Pretty significant front wing damage as well for Michael De Turk, and that's not what you need. You do not need that front end to lose grip here at the Nordschleife. That front end grip is massively important, because you get to points where sometimes you just carry a little bit more speed than you expected, and when you throw it in, you're like, oh, please bite, and that's the last thing you need, is that problem. But brilliant battle here for 13th between Partonen, Kochi and Edwards. Kochi in the Parmalat Brabham there in the middle. Brilliant looking car as well. The yogurt that makes you go faster. Parmalat.
See, toes along. Thank you for the commercial. Toes along Kochi, Edwards and Bell. Through the bell off. Oh, S's, and off the course goes Partonen with a hard hit into the Armco. Thankfully, everybody behind him able to avoid the incident. Partonen going to be our latest victim. We are down to 23 drivers left running on this track. Many of them are still taking tows, so they can get back out here and trying to get some repairs. But there you see on the replay, unfortunately, glitches into the wall, and there's no coming back from that.
No, there's no repair going to be done in time for that. It would. I actually got a little bit confused there with Partonen's crash. When you said the bell off S's, I thought bell was off. Like, oh, bell off. Sorry. I'll get my coat.
As we ride on board with Bycroft once again, coming down to the start of lap 3 now, out of 8 circuits around this course here today. And Seppa, once again, having to deal with that pressure from behind, was pulling along Bycroft through the Dottinger Hoa and not able to shake him here in the twisty portions. They're going to get another long, flat-out portion here as they head out of High Oaks up towards Flugplatz and Cottonborn.
Some very jazzy overalls here for Chris Baumann as well. Some pinstriping, very nice indeed. I wonder if they're sequined like Barney Stinson's suit that he bought with his Christmas bonus one year. Anyway, Alessandro Parigi here in the 12th car. as well, getting well in the battle. Of course, Parigi, one of our regulars in the Lotus 49 series, and thank you to our producer, the bearded sim racer, our producer. We are on Cosworth DF cam, my favourite of all the Dougie Beard camera angles.
Bauman's got a good run, and that's Bill Tyler that you see in the 9 in front of him. Is he going to try and poke his nose out? It weaves back and forth here. It can be tough to try and find a clean place to get through. He thinks about it. Tyler's a little bit offline. They're going to go side by side down into Ehrenberg. Tyler's not brave enough on the brakes, and Bauman is going to snatch 10th from that.
A good move there from Chris Bauman, riding aboard with Bill Tyler, another of our drivers in the Lotus 49 series. You can catch it every Saturday here on the Global Sim Racing Channel at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. Great way to start your Saturday morning with a cup of coffee, and myself and Ryan Walker, double Scotch, bringing you the action there.
Back up to second place, looking from Seppa to Bycroft as they work their way down through Defense Valley. Don't you worry about the corner names. I am the freak that has learned all the corners around here as we come down to one of the lower parts of the circuit, hitting the bottom. And Bycroft, once again, just... I'm surprised, and I'm almost wondering if he regrets not going by. I wonder once they get to Dottinger Hoa, if we could follow them and see if he's still waiting behind Seppa, because I would have thought that he'd want to get by and just try and get some clear air in front of him.
It's so hard to tell. I think you're right, Joe. I think when we get onto Dottinger Hoa, that's the only time we're going to see, really, if Steve Bycroft is hanging on by his fingernails here, or whether he's absolutely comfortable. It's very, very hard to tell until we get that on board. We can hear if he's just feathering out the throttle slightly on the straight. He won't hear going up the hill, but certainly on the Dottinger Hoa, maybe we'll see. But Bycroft running a really nice, smooth race. Look at the speed they carried through there. That is terrifying. Goodness me, 260 kilometers an hour. Oh my word. Then hard on the brakes. Now, interestingly, Joe, I had the immense privilege of interviewing Kevin Estre a couple of weeks ago, who, in my view, is, I would say, the best driver in the world currently around this circuit, certainly in a GT car. And he lives in Austria, about 600 kilometers away, and his record to drive home, 3 hours and 5 minutes.
I guess I've taken the Autobahn, most likely.
Right. Yes. And a 911 Turbo S company car without a limiter on, obviously.
Oh, geez. As we watch from Bill Tyler's perspective, our producer noticing the same thing I have, that he is caught back up to Chris Bauman, trying to see if he can re-overtake him. But behind them, Pablo Suarez is gaining.
Look at the damage on Bauman's rear wing there as well. It's... that's not going to hit. Oh no, my apologies. We're on board with Bill Tyler, similar colour scheme. So what's happened to Bill Tyler? That, I presume, that must have been during the carousel pile-up at the beginning of the race.
I think you're right the first time. I think that blue and red is indeed Chris Bauman's rear wing. Yeah, there it is.
No, it's Candy Team Tyrrell car. It is Tyler.
Well, on our screen, yeah, this is Bauman right here. Yeah, there we go.
No,
confirmation.
I was right the first time.
Yes. Yes, Chris Bauman coming through YouTube corner now, continuing to try and chase now Parigi. They've run down the 9th place car there in front of them, and they head through Ice Curve, up and over the crest, heading down to one of the other places where you can sometimes get air. Probably not in these Lotus 79s, at least here, as they suck to the ground so well towards the end of the lap. Now, we were wondering about Bycroft. He's coming out of Gallows corner right now. He's about half a second behind. He's absolutely going to get the tow. Let's watch and see.
We're going to see if he's what's Steve Bycroft going to do. We're climbing up in speed, 285 clicks, nearly up to 300 kilometers an hour. So we're going about 175 miles an hour here. He gets to a point. Is he going to make the run now, Joe?
He's reeling him in. And this is where you'd expect him to pop out, maybe, although it is a little bit late. He is going to lift. So that might not be the best tell on that one, because he doesn't want to take it side by side here into Tiergarten and Hohenraden. And as they complete the next lap, he gets within just a couple tenths. Now, is it just me? I think they gained a little bit on Simon, so maybe he is pulling a slight bit of the toe because it went down under 2 seconds briefly.
I think so. Yes, absolutely. I have a theory here that Bycroft, actually the draft there is a draft there, but it's not enough. It must be that Seppa's getting out of the final corner onto the Dottinger hole very, very well. And it's not giving, as you mentioned, not giving Bycroft enough of a run to get the move done before going too wide into the S's, which is never advisable. And by Seppa, Bycroft playing this smart because Seppa and Bycroft are running in flying formation. Neither of them are slowing one another up by dive bombing each other. In fact, quite the opposite. They're probably actually just grabbing an extra % or two psychologically out of one another by pushing each other along, and that is sort of just bringing them towards Thomas Simon. And like you said, it's now dipping just under 2 seconds, so we're game on. I have to say, I thought Simon was gone, but obviously not.
Another potential theory here, we haven't looked at the weather yet, and it's relatively hot today. Now, it's not extremely, 97 Fahrenheit currently on the course, and not much wind, thankfully. I almost wonder if this is a setup thing. I wonder if Simon's is better early in the stint, 36 Celsius for our metric people, and maybe it's starting to go away from him, whereas Seppa's is coming to him.
Quite possibly, yeah. I mean, we know that the tyres are pretty resilient here in these cars, so I wouldn't imagine it being that Simon's battered the life out of his tyre already. It's too early for that, I would say, but very intriguing at the front. But Gernot Fritsch on the march here, really, really superb. He's got Tollinen in the Elf Renault in front of him. But look at the time difference to the leaders, 24 seconds. So there's another 10-second piled on this since lap 2. So, goodness me, that just shows you just the exceptional pace that Simon, Seppa and Bycroft have got to be running so far ahead of such a high-class field.
Yeah, 22-second gap, even though it is long laps. That's a top split, too. We haven't mentioned this is the top split of 2 fields that are currently running, which means this is the best of the best out here right now. So you have to have something special to be able to pull that kind of gap over the rest of the fields. Once again, back to Baumann as he tries to chase on Parigi. Parigi keeping him at bay. And Chris, we know, has some damage on the rear wing, so his straight line speed might be lacking, and that might be what's causing him to have so much difficulty overtaking the 12.
I think so. That will be causing a lot of really unnecessary aerodynamic inefficiency there for Baumann. But let's have a look. Let's see if in the draft that can be negated from Parigi in front. Now, of course, Alessandro Parigi running, I believe that's an Alfa Romeo that he's running in that as well. And of course, could it have been any other than the wonderful Mark Alfa Romeo?
Oh, and Fritsch goes side by side. But he lifts. He had to think about going by Tollinen, but they came up to Bravery Corner and he decided better of it. There we see them on screen now. Will he get another bite? No, he backs out once again.
The Bravery Corner is the one that if you're in obviously a car with a lot less power than a Lotus 79, like a Miata or something like that, or a Jetta, actually Bravery Corner is not such a thing, because of course the car is actually losing speed as you get to the top of that hill at some point.
Depends on your setup, because a loose Miata, which I've had and unfortunately lost in Bravery Corner on some of the endurance races here, it is still scary. We continue to ride on board with Tollinen looking back at Gernot Fritsch giving chase. They up to the highest point on the circuit, and then it's literally all downhill from here.
It is. That's not often a bad thing, but not here at the Nordschleife. This is one of my favourite sections here. So, I mean, look at this off-camber right-hander over the crest. You go hard on the brakes, then you got a left, then a right. You just swooping around here. Oh, so many blind entries. You've got to trust it. You've got to know it. As far as you can on the brakes here. Tuck it in, not run too wide. There's a sand trap on the left. There you go. Use it all up. Hard on the brakes. I'm sorry, Joe, I don't know the corner names, but I can tell you where they all go.
That's okay. But as we ride on board on the helmet cam, gives you an idea of just how fast everything goes by you. There's just no chance to relax until you get to those long, long straights. Otherwise, as Peter was just describing, it comes at you and never stops. I wonder, man, hard to watch between this, and then I've also been keeping my eyes on Baumann and Parigi because they've been staying close. And here we go again with Bycroft. And this time he looks a lot closer up the early part of Dadinger Hoa. We hop on his roll bar. Is he going to actually try and take it too wide? Here we go.
He's got the run. Here we go then. He's definitely got enough time to get this done. Has Bycroft. He's got the overspeed. But has he hit the wall? Look at that. He's hit the imaginary wall of air. He's just like, the car's going, I've got no more revs. There's nothing left in the box. Side by side, this always goes well. Bycroft shuts the door square in the nose of Seppa. And Seppa will be thinking, oh, okay, it's like that then, is it? Right. As Thomas Simone drops below the 6-minute mark on race trim. Wow, and he's opened up a second from these guys. Very, very impressive there from Simone.
I think that may have answered our question on why Bycroft was not trying to overtake, as maybe he knew he just couldn't do anything once he popped out of the slipstream. Meanwhile, Baumann has been overtaken by Bill Tyler on that same Dadinger Hoa stretch. The straight line speed of the number 8 just not looking like it's serving him well here in the latter half of the race. So this fight for 9th continues on as they complete yet another lap. Up ahead of them, see a car, is that for position? Yes, it is. Are they gaining on Michael de Turk? Let me look at the lap times between himself and Parigi.
Well, de Turk has, of course, got that front wing damage. It's going to be holding him back for sure. He'll have earned his Villiger Kiel cigar at the end of this race, that's for sure. Now, I tell you what, there with Bycroft going past Seppa, he couldn't have left that pulling out of the slipstream any later, could he? He was right there as close as he could go and then had to pop out. And even then, just hit that invisible wall of air. The engine had no more revs left in the tank, and actually Bycroft did well to get that done. I wonder if Seppa maybe had to blend out and let him go to avoid them having an accident there.
Yeah, it looked to me like he was playing nice a little bit to make sure that they get to the end of this thing. As we watch Timothy Reed now chasing down Tolanen after being overtaken by Freesia. It seems like the 11 also falling backwards slightly. Also, for those curious, de Turk did run a 6:09.9 compared to Parigi's 6:09.1, so nearly a second quicker. He is indeed reeling him in.
Yeah, absolutely. Whoa, big commitment. Big commitment.
Oh.
If he held on to that one, he'd done well.
Timothy Reed unfortunately spinning out. So it looks like the 18 through out an hour forced has cost himself quite a bit of time. Let's get a replay on this one. This goes back to what you mentioned a little bit earlier, Peter. It's not a huge mistake, but things just compounded so quickly.
Yeah, you're carrying so much speed that everything, it's a bit like Indianapolis. Just the tiniest mistake and it's just colossal. Well, actually, he did remarkably well to just have a match with the wall there and actually should be able to keep this car going. The wheels look relatively straight, looks not too bad there for Timothy Reed, but I actually think he did a really good job there, Joe, to reduce the damage of that accident, shall we say.
Absolutely. We've come back to Chris Baumann once again, still behind Bill Tyler after being overtaken, isn't able to snatch that one back, but wow, up in front of them, Parigi maybe feeling a little bit of the pressure as he put two wheels nearly off coming out of Defense Valley, and this has allowed Bill Tyler to get right underneath that gearbox, and at a critical moment, if he could stick with him coming out of Bergwerks and up Kesselchen, he has got himself a nice little draft and could easily go by.
Yep, we're riding on board with the Alessandro Parigi in the Alfa Romeo. Looking back at Bill Tyler and Baumann, they're going to go, I thought Baumann was going to go side by side there, but Baumann really struggling with that straight line speed, and that's bound to be not ideal in the fast corners as well. As you can see, even in the draft, Bill Tyler pulling away from Baumann. This must be so painful for Baumann in this machine, in the Parmalat machine. Oh, what a race this has been. This is what the Nordschleife is all about. Seeing drivers put to the sternest of tests.
And that in front of them is De Turk, who is definitely lacking in straight line speed. That is the Achilles heel that he is suffering from. Should be a matter of time. Oh, and that'll definitely do it as he goes off and out of the banking, but that upsets Parigi. He gets all out of sorts. Nobody changes positions. Somehow, nobody runs into one another as well, because the last time we saw this race, it ended in a huge pileup.
That was very, very lucky that there wasn't all four cars all in a heap on top of one another, because it's so violent when you do pop out the top of the carousel there that it's scary. I mean, there used to be many years ago, there used to be a circuit called the Avis circuit in Berlin, and there was a huge bank section, but the problem was that at the top of the bank section there was no guardrail, and occasionally you got cars falling off the other side. Similar sensation.
A lot more dangerous, because wasn't it like 4 or 5 stories tall or something?
Enormous, yes, it was. Yeah. It is something that, like, you know, when you've had too much really strong cheese after your dinner, and then you go and have a sleep afterwards. It's like the sort of circuit you dream of after that.
As we come to our leader, who has been unfazed by anybody all race long. We thought he was being caught before, but doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It's 4.3 seconds between himself and Bycroft. As we look from his gearbox back at Bycroft, it's hard to even see him over some of the rolls in the hills. And good news for Bycroft, though. I think his decision to move by Seppo was a good one. He's lengthened it to about 1.5 seconds down to the fin.
Yep, that he has. It really has just answered. It's almost as if he had it in control the whole time, Joe, wasn't it? I mean, Thomas Simone down to under 2 seconds. It's almost as if he just thought, okay, I'll just hit the afterburners now and off we go. And he just put 2 fastest laps in a row. They are both 2 sub-6 minute laps. The only driver, from my reckoning, to get under that gap in this race. But absolutely exceptional. If we look at Baumann and De Turk, the 2 wounded soldiers, my apologies, and Bill Tyler, who also has some front wing damage as well. I wonder if that was from that little moment there at the carousel, but they're drafting back and forth with one another. De Turk and Parigi a little bit further ahead, and Parigi might be able to make a breakaway here because his car looks in relatively good condition.
Yeah, I think the only one in this group who isn't suffering from some damage.
Whoa.
De Turk, nearly losing the car, coming out of T13 onto the pitch straight once again. Everybody sliding them around, trying to get the best grip possible with only 3 to go. What's interesting is coming onto the Dodinger Hoa, you may have noticed a gap between Tyler and De Turk. Tyler actually put 2 wheels into the grass on Gallows Hill, and that has cost him a lot of speed up the Dodinger Hoa straight. That's why he and Baumann suddenly have a gap to make up.
Yeah, that not ideal, not the place you want to lose momentum. I tell you what, Parigi gathered an enormous moment there going over the the pit straight. My goodness me, it was such a big moment there, but that's what these cars do. This was with the Cosworth DFB engine. It was about, at this point, 11 years into its development, so the car's drivability, the engine's drivability had improved a lot, but it's still a Grand Prix engine. It still produces massive power, and it's up to the well-paid driver to manage the power delivery.
Wait, you're getting paid?
Well, I'm not, but the drivers at the time were.
Well, and Baumann is unfortunately off, and he's going to get hit big time by Pablo Suarez. You were just talking about it's up to the driver to not make mistakes, and Baumann did not get the memo on that one. Out of Ehrenberg, unfortunately, the car just putting a little too much in it, and it goes around.
And that is one of the fastest corners on the circuit. Absolutely flat out in these cars, and when you've got a car that's not got quite the right aerodynamics, and he gets under the curb, and
Now that was Suarez running into him right there.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, these cars, they have, I always say, it's like Aladdin's magic carpet. Just absolutely unfathomable amounts of grip. due to the ground effect aerodynamics. It was so dominant when it came out, the only car in the field to have it back in 1978, and Mario Andretti, well, got the best out of it and drove to the championship. But the problem is when you disturb that ground effect aerodynamics, that magic carpet gets pulled from under your feet and you are a passenger.
If we had a theme song for this race, it'd be Another One Bites the Dust, because with Baumann now gone, we are down to 18 cars out of our 32 starters who are still on this circuit. And we still have 3 laps to go in this race. One by one, they've been dropping like flies. It's almost like a horror film.
Indeed. Well, it's called the Green Hell for a good reason here at the Nordschleife. It's the circuit that some drivers might have nightmares about. I actually do laps of it in my head to help me get to sleep at night, Joe. It's better than counting sheep.
We ride on board with Bill Tyler. Coming up, Kesselchen, still chasing the likes of De Turk, who's been watching position after position slip through his fingers, and another one just about to do it. Nope, they hit Bravery Corner, and it seems Bill Tyler not brave enough to try and hit that one too wide. Still, they'll come up to Style Strecke, slow the cars down, and then into the famous carousel they go.
Yeah, you've really got to try and hook it in there on the carousel and just hang on for dear life. This car was not made with that kind of corner in mind. As you see, they sort of bounce around there through the carousel and then over the crest. When you come out of the carousel, keeping the wheel straight there is so important, because when you light up the power and you get the change of surface, the car just it's going right. You want it to go left, right, backwards, sideways, overwards. It's always a bit of a handful.
We had a problem with Nick Bell just behind Hinkle here. The number 22 seems to have turned it around coming out of Style Strecke. It looks like he's able to get it going, not without a bit of damage on the nose. Let's take a look at how this one happened. Wonder if it's another case like we saw before, where the curb and a little too much gas will do it. No, this is all gas, I think.
Yep, just overcooked it on the throttle. Very easy to do. You've come in from such high speed, you go down to maybe second, maybe third gear possibly. But yeah, just ask for a little bit too much power, a little bit too much steering input, and round he went. Again, very, very easy mistake to make. And what we've seen here, Joe, so far is a typical Nordschleife race. You've got the best drivers on iRacing in this particular car, world-class drivers. But the Nordschleife, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't have, it doesn't get starstruck. Does the Nordschleife? It will bite you whether you want it to or not.
It never plays favorites. You have to put in the work if you want to be fast here. Meanwhile, very fast is Tomasz Simon, who sets another fastest lap at a 58.2 around here. Let's ride on board and watch what it's like early on through one of the twistiest and most technical portions.
Tomasz Simon, not only is his pace outrageously fast, he has done 3 laps of the circuit within a second of one another. That's absolutely exceptional. I think the pace is impressive, but I reckon there's 10 guys in the field that could run that lap time once, but he's running 3 of them within a second. That is the sign of a top class driver. Absolute bravo, Tomasz, bravo.
Credit to Steve Bycroft's last lap, and this is without slipstream. He ran a 58.9, so he was 7/10 off of Simon, which in a normal track sounds like a whole lot of time, but he is keeping relative pace with Tomasz. He shouldn't lose too much more if he can stay within that for the remainder of the race. And any sort of mistake, as we've seen, can be costly here. So Bycroft's still sitting in a good position to capitalize if someone in front of him finds themselves in the wall. Meanwhile, Michael De Turk is chasing Bill Tyler. He got overtaken on the Dodinger Hoa. Whoa, as he's very good on the brakes compared to Bill Tyler through this portion.
Yeah, he had quick reactions there, didn't he? Did Michael De Turk. And interesting, Bycroft as well. He's broken Seppa in quite quick order as well. I have to say, Joe, that surprised me that Bycroft's been able to break off the back of Seppa so early. I would have thought that Seppa could have hung on to him.
It seems like despite having that draft on some of these faster straights, that maybe Seppa is lacking the pace on the twistier bits. Meanwhile, as we hop on board with the Turk, looking over the wheel through the Swedish cross and then breaking down into Ehrenberg, Tyler manages to stay ahead. They're also still chasing Alessandro Parigi. It's about 2 seconds up to him. I think it's going to depend on what kind of speed Tyler has through the corners, because Parigi, as we've mentioned before, the only one of the few in this mid-pack that doesn't have some sort of major damage visible on the car.
No, and that is just critical with these machines. You do not want to be driving wounded. You need every last bit of performance to be there. Otherwise, you have to make such an adjustment to your driving style. And when you're in the heart of a battle, very, very difficult to do that. We will be getting the white flag next time by. Thomas Simone a little bit further up the road than these guys, about a minute up the road, in fact. In what has been an imperious drive, but this will be a long sort of, well, 8 or 9 minutes, won't it, Joe? It's he's been so consistent. He will be in such a good rhythm.
Sorry,
right now.
Parigi had a problem. The 12 is off, and he's losing positions. I'm not sure how damaged he is. Ooh, looks, he's trying to get, oh no, he took a toe. Oh, let's get a replay on what happened to the 12. And where was this? Oh, is it down into miss, hit, miss? Yeah, that's miss, hit, miss. Or no, it's coming up here in a second. That's the Spiegel curve. Throws it in. It's good right now, good right now. Oh my. The last place, you want a loose car. Oh, wow. I don't know who that was that missed him. But coming around a blind corner like that and taking evasive action cannot be good for your health.
Well, that just shows you the amount of aerodynamic performance these cars have, that you can change your line at all. So at will, at that kind of speed of corner. Wow, it just boggles the mind. It really does. But also, I actually haven't. There is a bit. It is a bit bumpy going through there, but I don't think I've ever seen a car lose it halfway around that section and get really loose. It's that would have grabbed Alessandro Parigi's attention, that's for sure, and unfortunately it's put an end to his race.
Also, it takes us down to 17 cars left. Now the last one running is Cristiano and the number 27. I'd say this is Dory Award worthy, making sure that he sticks with it. And actually, honestly, let's see, number 27 is currently running 17th. Yeah, that's going to be a nice little iRating haul for Cristiano today.
Yeah, you could. Whoa!
You think Shimon's pushing?
Oh my goodness! He's pushing, but my goodness me, that will have grabbed his attention as well. Coming onto the Dottinger Ho now for the penultimate time, and I tell you what, isn't it apt that he's running the Gilles Villeneuve tribute livery, because that still shot, that is just pure Gilles Villeneuve-esque there. That's tribute livery, tribute driving style. Fantastic.
Whew, just about gave us a heart attack here in the booth. Simone waiting for that white flag. I'm sure it can't come soon enough for him as well to try and finish off this race. And this would be 4 in a row for him if he can manage to bring it home. And not to toot my own horn too much, but what did I say about Bycroft being a good runner here? He, once again, is looking at a podium. It's taken victories before, but it's going to have to take a little bit of luck this time for him to take the top spot. Even still, Bycroft's going to earn valuable points today.
Indeed, yeah. It's he's one of. Can you have more than one ringmeister? Is that
absolutely. Let's take a look at the replay though of another ringmeister here with Tomasz Simon having that save. And so I think this was through the second carousel. Yeah, it looks like, as he's coming up to that. Let's get an onboard since we watched it from off here. Yeah, let's see what the driver experiences through the Beloff S's. We'll come up through Swallowtail. Looks so smooth and calm. Oh, a little bit of a correction there. Another little correction there. Maybe he is wearing out the tire slightly, and this is our moment.
Oh my word.
I mean, sliding this car in normal conditions is scary, but on an embankment like that, I can't stress to our viewers the kind of skill that requires.
That was some physics-defying. Well, I actually don't. I'm muddled for words here, because how that car did not spear straight sideways into the wall, I will never know. I could watch that 100 times, and he did. Obviously, he caught it, but how that car didn't bite back, wow. I mean, that moment alone, and all of those consistent laps, Thomas Simone is not only leading this race and looking like taking the win, he has just been spectacular to watch as well. And just so, this is what it's all about here, the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series here on GSRC. We hope you're enjoying it. And we normally do have a trip to the Nordschleife each season, and well, let's hope there isn't any movement to take it off, because it's just such a treat.
Absolutely. Might have a change for position between Suarez and de Turk. And Suarez tries to take it side by side through the Swedish cross, and he's denied as de Turk is going to send it deep on the brakes. We get another run through compression in the foxhole. We ride on board with Suarez, and I just noticed this a little bit earlier. Is it just me, or is that a Mario Andretti helmet that he's sporting?
I think it certainly is. Yes, absolutely. That is a Mario Andretti helmet. Of course, Mario Andretti took his Formula One World Championship in this car when it came out, and really made the very, very most of it. And interestingly, it was when nobody could really quite figure out why Lotus were so quick to begin with, and he was quizzed by various journalists and people, and he says, we've found something with the differential. Yeah, right, Mario.
That sounds like Mario. I know we've jumped back up to Simone, but I just noticed also Suarez has Hankel gaining behind him. So this is becoming a three-car fight for the 9th spot. Really our last real battle on the track, and might become a 4-car battle, because de Turk's only, Tyler's only 2.5 seconds up the road from de Turk. So if he makes a slip up, he could also become involved as they hit the bottom of the mountain up towards X-Mule. De Turk trying to get away from Suarez, who seems to have a little bit of better straight line speed, but de Turk looking quicker in the twistier bits, and he's got just this final lap to try and overtake, and only half of it to go.
Yep, they'll have to make it count. Maybe the Dottinger Hole might be the last chance saloon for those guys to make some moves forward, but as we pick up our race leader, Thomas Simone, who will just be, you could just tell from the language of this car, the body language of this car, Joe, that Thomas Simone is just in his element right now. He's just enjoying the driving, and that's one of the unique pleasures of the Nordschleife. Is it has many difficulties, but one of the unique pleasures is when you get in a rhythm around this place, it is just driving nirvana. It's such, big crash. Now I think there was contact there, Joe, I'm pretty certain.
Yeah, Suarez, unfortunately, the one that comes out the worst. Now, did it? Oh, yeah, it was started by contact. He got hit in the back by Hankel here. We're going to see it. This is a perfect angle from above. If the trees don't get in the way. There, we just caught it. Just tipped the gearbox, and unfortunately, the slightest of touches at a track like this ends up in disaster.
Yeah, and that's at the very roof of top gear as well. You're really flying along there, and just a little touch and round he went. Poor old Suarez, he's been caught up in 2 other people's accidents so far today, but this man has been out in his own universe. Thomas Simone goes down the Dottinger Hole for the final time, and Joe, this has been, well, for me, drive of the season, I think, from amongst all drivers.
Just has one more braking event to go up here at the end of the Dottinger Hole. And Thomas Simone is going to make it 4 out of 4 with Suzuka, Phillip Island, and then Oulton Park being his first 3. The cherry on the cake is going to be the Nürburgring. as victory for Tomasz Simon extends his championship lead. Bycroft's going to follow him home, but still work his way up the point standings with this one. And Severi Seppa will finish in third. Last step on the podium.
And look at that, Steve Bycroft, just 5 seconds from the pace of Simone over the entirety of the race, but takes the best lap, the fastest lap time for Bycroft. Now there's a little nugget, there's taking the gentleman's set away from Tomasz Simone there.
And that's 2 bonus points, him doing that. So that was important. I wonder if Simone was easing it up because it is such a long lap. We know these things get quicker as they get lighter. If Simone maybe just decided to try and bring the thing home, and that opened the door for Bycroft to manage to sneak in that fastest lap as Freesia finally finishes. That's how big the gap is to the rest of the field. 35 seconds back to 4th place. Tolanen with the top 5 will then be followed home by Timothy Reed.
Yeah, I think that just shows you just how high a level the guys at the top were racing. I mean, this riding aboard with Bill Tyler, no slouch at all. And waiting for him to come up, completes the Dodinger Hole for the final time, the last S's, and brings that Chesterfield. Now, not Chesterfield the sofa, Chesterfield the tobacco brand, of course.
As they continue to trickle across the line. Really, the last battle that I can see is Suarez and Bell. I think actually Suarez, who's limping, is going to be vulnerable as Nick is gaining. We ride on board, run at 164 miles an hour versus Suarez. No, actually Suarez is faster. My goodness, how damaged is Bell then?
Yeah, lots, because Suarez, that car has been in the has been in the wars for sure. I love it at the back. Visit Spain. I cannot support that anymore. A bit of a love tap at the end there. Goodness me, if they stumble over the line.
I guess it wasn't aero damage, it was suspension damage, so Suarez couldn't go very fast through the corners, and Bell was caught out by that. Everybody else going to slowly come through. No more battles, so we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
iRacing is a sim racing game that combines a true-to-life racing experience with an online community of virtual racers from all around the globe. iRacing offers a multitude of officially licensed cars and tracks, laser scanned with millimeter accuracy. Their car models and mechanical systems are based on real-world physics, engineered in cooperation with manufacturers and race teams. Their skill license system ranges from rookie to pro, ensuring members are always pitted against those with similar skill sets. Members are able to sign up for a weekly race series, compete in time trials, host a private race with friends, and participate in racing leagues created and run by the community. With over 170,000 members, iRacing works in partnership with renowned motorsports organizations like NASCAR to deliver virtual races based on the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, as well as many other series on the NASCAR ladder. iRacing also features team racing, providing a variety of options for members to create and manage their own teams. Race with friends or real-world teammates in full-length endurance events like the 24 Hours of Daytona, Spa 24, or the Bathurst 12 Hour. Additional partners include IMSA, World of Outlaws, Supercars, and IndyCar, allowing members to race in their very own Indianapolis 500, Bathurst 1000, Chili Bowl, and many more iconic events. This is iRacing, delivering the most authentic racing experience short of getting into a real race car. Sign up today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to the Nordschleife round 6 today for the Sunday Grand Prix series. Gave us quite a bit of excitement. Unfortunately, it was cut short for many of our drivers, but not for Tomasz Simon, who managed to take the victory, and it was his 4th in a row. But it was mentioned as we finished by by Peter that Steve Bycroft kept within 5 seconds in the end. So he is at least keeping Simone honest today. Second place for Steve was followed by Severi Seppa, finishing in the third position. Gernot Friesche, he wound up in fourth, but remember, he climbed from ninth place. However, he was a whole 35 seconds behind. So some of that traffic may have cost him. Some of it could have just been raw pace. We'll have to find out if we get to talk to him. Yuko Tolanen finished P5 with Timothy Reed going from 12th to 6th himself. Then it's Emil Bernstorff. We didn't show a bunch of them. I think he probably would have preferred it that way, taking a calm 7th with Bill Tyler going from 16th to 8th himself. Michael de Turk, with that damage, just couldn't hold on to his positions, and he bled them down to 9th, with Andreas Henkel winding up in 10th.
Pablo Suarez managed to get his car home in 11th after a couple of pieces of damage through no fault of his own. Nick Bell also taking a wounded Lotus 79 home in 12th position. Ivan Giorgio was 13th, followed by Sebastian Schue, Tobias Ringel, Daniel Banker, Cristiano Coriani, Alessandro Parigi, unfortunately a little bit of an incident early on bringing him out, also followed by Chris Baumann and Steve Searles in 20th.
Then from there on down, sadly, it is DNFs all the way to the 32nd position. So drivers that just did not have a good day here at the ring. Driver with a decent day, I would say, we'll see if he feels happy about it, was Gernot Friesche, who finished 4th out there. And Gernot, we're curious, after watching you climb your way up from 9th on the grid, how much is that 35-second gap down to you having to overtake cars, and how much of it is that's just your pace compared to the top three?
Well, it's 100% only my bad pace this week, so I pretty much maximized my results. So 4th position is much better than I should have been.
It looked like it was simply a case of survival, as we only had 17 of 32 starters. That's literally half the fields take the checkered flag here today. Did you kind of keep it a little bit lower than 100% to at least see the checkered flag?
Maybe slightly, but not too much. Actually, I was pushing quite a bit because it's a fun track, and especially when you're running alone, all you can do is hot lapping. So it's a fun track, and after I got into P4, I knew that was it. I wouldn't be much better than that, and started just doing laps for fun.
You've worked up to 2nd in the points. Now I'll have to try and check and see if you're going to lose any of that. I don't believe so to those behind you. So this 4th place is at least valuable towards the championship. Heading off to Donington, a much shorter track. Can you try and challenge Tomas and finally knock him down from the top spot? It's been 4 in a row for him.
At least I will try. I don't think. I'm that fast right now. Tomas is still a class of the field. On the other hand, it's a track that should be better for me, and I also have more time for practicing. Actually, this week was really tough because basically started practicing today. Did about 10 laps in total before the race, including the qualifying sessions. So, considering that, I can be really happy.
Well, again, congratulations on at least slipping into the top 5 and, like you said, maximizing what you could out of today's event. Anybody you'd like to thank before you go?
I have to thank Steve Bycroft for a lot of help with setups lately, especially this week, because otherwise I wouldn't have raced. And of course, congrats to Tomas, Steve for a great 2nd place as well, and Severi. See you guys.
That was Gernot Friesche, our 4th place finisher here today. It looks like everybody else is just too whipped from running here at the Nürburgring because no more interviews are waiting to line up and talk to us. So we'll take our leave here as we give a big thank you, of course, to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcasts that we've listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp is listed there at the bottom if you want to go check out more of it. Thanks to the team today, Peter, Ryan, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. And Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global SimRacing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, our merchandise store is simply at gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below in case you just want to click that. But while you're down there, make sure and subscribe to the channel. Click the big red subscribe button so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. The next race, as we mentioned, that'll be at Donington Park, Sunday, January 31st at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Up next today is going to be the PRL NASCAR Cup Series, and that will be an interesting one. Gateway will kick off at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Make sure and check that one out. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.